Vakratunda Mahakaya Suryakoti Samaprabha Nirvignam Kuru Me Deva Sarvakaryeshu Sarvada Saraswati Namastubhyam Varade Kamarupini Vidyarambham Karishyami Siddhir Bhavatu Me Sada Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurudeva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Narayana. When Raja Parikshita had come back from the jungle and he was sitting in his palace on his throne, he took his crown off and immediately felt significant remorse for the action he had just engaged in. And in his remorse, he started to pray to Bhagwan to punish him, to correct him for being reactive. Moments later, a young boy comes into the palace in front of Raja Parikshita and shares that you will die in 168 hours. And what did Raja Parikshita do? Earlier he was crying out of remorse, now he started to cry out of joy. Put yourself in that position. If someone shares 1 week from today you will not be alive, do you react? Do you respond? Why he cried out of joy is that Bhagwan answered his prayers. He prayed to be punished and corrected so he doesn't do this again. And Bhagwan answered those prayers. If you think of your life, if I can take an extreme example, how many of you have fallen asleep driving before? And the sooner you wake up, the better, correct? You haven't drifted as far. I mean this very functionally. It happens. Driver fatigue is dangerous. And if you just drifted a little bit, you're so grateful that you didn't sleep longer. So Raja Parikshita is crying out of joy. Now what happened between him engaging in this mean action to him praying for retribution? When he took his crown off, Kali came off. Kali means selfishness. That came off, and so he was able to think clearly. Why I'm bringing up this lovely narration from Srimad Bhagavatam is intellectually, every one of us knows what's right. All that I've shared, Shankarji shared, Sumanji shared, Arvindji shared, everybody knows this already. At most, you don't know some of the technicalities of the etymology of this word or what's next in the sequence. We intellectually all know, but following this is difficult. Our workshop is designed for us to go from intellectually knowing what is right to intimately knowing what is right. When this is close to you, then you can follow this. Just like if a light is close to you, you know where to go, but if a light is far away, do I go left? Do I go right? In our maps, the original sin is described as avidya. You've heard this term before? In English, avidya can mean ignoring. See, we always define this as ignorance, but really it's ignoring your nature, ignoring how to be happy. And so I tend to define avidya as forgetting. I've forgotten how to be happy. And when you forget how to be happy, then you become an extrovert. And if I can add one more term for us to reflect on in reference to avidya, it is ignoring, it is forgetting, it is losing oneself. I've lost myself. It is through rightness or dharma that I find myself. I go right, I go right, I go right, I go right. In Sanskrit, the word for this is yanti, which means to repair. Our workshop is on finding ourselves, on repairing who we fundamentally are. In our maps, a beautiful teaching is avichara krito bandhaha. Wrong thinking causes one to feel limited. Just like if you're really hungry, you do have the willpower to ignore that, but if you give in to that hunger, you start thinking wrong things then, correct? We call that being hangry. Avichara krito bandhaha. And the next part of this statement is vicharena nivartate. Through right thinking, one becomes free. If you go see an awesome movie and you didn't have dinner, during that awesome movie, what are you thinking or feeling? About the awesome movie. If you're thinking about dinner, the movie's not awesome enough. You see how that feeling is still there. Your stomach is still sending signals to your brain that food is missing. You need energy, but you're thinking about the movie, so you don't identify with that hunger. You've all experienced that. You've experienced that in this workshop, yes? Yes, Vivek ji. So how do we go from avichara to vichara? A map, and in English we typically call this a scripture. If you follow the script, you go from wrong thinking to right thinking. And if you don't follow the script, you go from wrong thinking to egotistical wrong thinking. I was thinking wrong before, now I've studied Bhagavad Gita, and I'm still thinking like that. See how that ego grows then? And sharing this in one more way, thoughts are indeliberate. Is that the correct term? Not deliberate is indeliberate. You get my point. It ain't be deliberate, okay? Thoughts are not deliberate. Thinking is deliberate. What causes us stress is not thinking, but thoughts. As an example, if you're trying to go to sleep and your mind is producing these thoughts, you can't sleep. But if you're trying to go to sleep and you're thinking about something noble, you're thinking about something productive tomorrow, you will be able to go to sleep. We are in a workshop to follow rightness, and if we do, we will find ourselves. What are we following to find ourselves? A scripture. The scripture that is Bhagavad Gita. In chapter 3, Bhagavan Krishna is zooming into selflessness. He shares in verse 8, action facilitates function. By acting, our body can be clean. By acting, you can drive safely. It is functional. And we took up the pancha karma. Action can be divided into 5. The foremost action is nitya karma, or regular responsibilities. One point to reflect on in terms of these pancha karmas. Does anyone know what our 14th samskara is? 14th. But we only have one samskara, vivaha, that's it. It says it on the pamphlet when I sit on a seat at a hotel. The 14th samskara is called Pancha Mahayagna. Pancha Mahayagna, which means the 5 great dedications. It is the first samskara or the first tradition that you do independently. The first 13 are done for you. If you think of your vivaha, someone else facilitated that vivaha for you, but the 14th you do independently. And I'm just trying to connect how our regular responsibilities are training in us being selfless, not living just for ourselves. Everyone's with me? Right action. We continue to verse 9. Bhagavan Krishna teaches, dedication facilitates evolution. Function means it's a lateral movement. Evolution means it's an upward movement. An upward movement. And we took up the Panchakirtis, or the right attitude. Right action, we got to it. But now within right action, we open it up more. What is the right attitude? The foremost attitude is surrender. I will act, you will worry. Remember that dialogue? I always laugh to myself on Sundays when one goes to the mandir, or maybe even here, we chant, Tan man dhan, sab kuch tera. If you said it, why do you say it the next week? And the next week, and the next week? But when we went through these 5 attitudes, we did start off with, we're offering our man, remember sing seek, then our dhan, that was support serve, and finally our whole tan, which was surrender. If you surrender once, you can't surrender again. We continued, and just to give some context to this, to verse 20. We didn't explore the verse, but I highlighted how Janaka, who is a seeker like you and I, first became a Raja of whom? Of himself. The word used is Siddha. He became a leader of himself, then he became the Raja of Praja. We have to know that context to appreciate the next verse. In verse 21, Bhagavan Krishna teaches, vision facilitates inclusion. Only if you've learned to lead yourself are you effective in leading others. So that we're clear, more clear, verse 8 is about what to do. Verse 9 is about why to do. Verse 21 is about who is doing. And that's why we explored the Pancha Koshas. When I ask you, who are you? Sometimes you're more the body, sometimes more the mind. The Pancha Kosha. So as I have the right action and the right attitude, who's the one who's doing this? And the point of our dissection of these koshas, each of these sheets doesn't belong to you. Does not belong to you. You must have heard really powerful indigenous sharings about, we don't own the earth, we're only leasing the earth. We don't own it. Now what is this body made of? That same earth. You don't own your body. You are leasing your body. Going through this system more, we started off with body. Who are you? What is the right Atma? We started with body. And what was our practice for the body? To feel this doesn't belong to us? Sleep early. In the social media sutras, what I had thought about is, for many of us who are in front of a screen for a long period of time, this nervous energy develops. So what should you do with this nervous energy when you're studying or you're writing, or whatever you're doing online? When you feel this nervous energy, we typically start to surf the web. We listen to endless YouTube videos, TikTok videos, which are 10 seconds that turns into 2 hours. What you should do if your body is distracted, distract the body with moving. Get up and do something. Fold your clothes, wash the dishes, go to the garage, breathe, dig the earth productively. But my point is, do something with the body. So at night, when the body becomes most heavy, sleep. Otherwise, this body's energy is going to pull you down. Be proactive and sleep. Who are you? Number 4, if we go deeper, the breath. And what is our practice for the breath? To walk. Now, adding a couple of more thoughts here. What kind of walk should you go on? A freedom walk. Here in the Washington, D.C. Center, we have a strong contingent in our Running from the Mind community. How many of you are part of the Running from the Mind community? Okay, strong with running, poor with Vedanta. Got it. And I've encouraged all of our, I call them runner seekers. Usually when you go to the gym or the park, while people are jogging, what else are they doing? Listening to EDM. Yes, they're bouncing their heads while they're jogging. But what do we do when we jog? Japa. We're chanting, Om Lam Prithivye Namaha. That every step I take, I love you, Earth, for allowing me to step on you. So as you're engaging in your walking, try to put less input in here and go inside even more. Today with our high school students, at 9:15 a.m., they had just come. And all of them were lying down and facing Bhagwan Shiva. And for 20 minutes, they rested their bodies and their minds while listening to the Maha Mantra. Hare Rama, Hare Krishna. And it was awesome. I feel all of them I could sense how rested they were. So with your 4th identification, that is the body, walk early, do japa, you will rest better. Who are you? The 3rd covering? The mind. And what is the practice to be more than the mind? Study early. Study that which challenges you to be better. If you're studying that which doesn't challenge you to be better, you will be comfortable. One can't grow being in comfort. As you go about studying, and I'd shared this with my wife, Sheila does a lot of listening, a lot of shravana, and she was complaining to me one day that she wished that she was growing more. And I said, do you want me to give you a tip? See, I asked for permission. And she said, yes. And I said, what will change, will be a game changer for you, is if you take notes. When you're listening, write. And you will find that everything you're listening to will become much more real to you. Right now you're listening while you fold clothes and you're doing dishes and you're in the car, but just listen and write. One day she may do that. It takes time for us to break out of our comfort. What are we all addicted to? Satsang, correct? To shravana. And so we don't get to the manana. One more point about study early. An hour before you go to sleep, what should be shut down? Your screens, not just your phones. Your laptop's open now. All screens should be shut down an hour before you go to sleep. And when you wake up, it should be a full hour before you look at a screen. For us, it's seconds. Not even minutes, it's seconds, because our alarm clock is now a phone. For our next year's youth camp, I'm already conceiving of the prasad. We're going to give you those old school alarm clocks. Really old school ones. You know that like run off your table and the bell rings and so on? So someone start collecting those, okay? We need at least 100 for next year. And my point here is, if you just look at your phone as soon as you wake up, the chances of you studying early goes down. This is happening in politics, this is happening in sports. You do start to study, but it's not inspiring. The fourth, who are you? 5, 4, 3, 2. Number 2, the intellect. And what is our practice to be more than the intellect? Wake early. What time? 3 a.m. Yeah? There's some people who I know who have such a difficult time waking up. So I've told them to email me when they wake up. I'm probably awake, so they email me saying, Vivekji, I'm awake. But this doesn't work because they go back to sleep then. I know they do. When I was studying in the ashram, one of my batchmates, you've seen him before. It's not Shankarji or Sumanji, okay? So it was near the end of the course. We've already lived in the ashram for 2 years, and I was in his room, and beside his bed he had a bucket of water. And in the ashram, we had rooms for bathing, where there was buckets and showers and stuff. So I asked him, I said, why do you have this bucket of water here? You can just go to the bathroom. And he looked at me with such sincerity. It's really hard to wake up at 4 a.m. This is 2 years into the course. So I said, So when the bell goes off, he rolls over and puts his head in that water. And then gets up and goes to the bathroom. So waking up is hard for him and for some people, but who is it not hard for? Who is waking up not hard for? Some of you are saying for some. Oh, thanks for the English grammar answer. Those with purpose. Purpose pulls performance. If you have a reason to wake up, you will. And if you don't have a reason to wake up, you won't. Today I was asking some young adults, I asked, what time did you set your alarm last night? And she said, I didn't. She just woke up whenever she wanted to wake up. She put me right in my place. And the first covering on our personality is the ego. And what is our practice with the ego? So that we're not the ego? Think early. That was one of the points you all made in your discussion, to develop a forgiving culture. Do you remember you had shared that? That's like sinking early. When I drive to different places, my favorite part of driving by churches is reading the church signs. Some are awesome. One church sign I saw said, "Save the earth, it's the only planet with chocolate." What a good campaign for Earth Day. Another one said, "We all make mistakes," and mistake was spelled wrong. So we all make mistakes. Think early. And then another seeker had very beautifully conveyed. I had asked, what is the only part of creation that Bhagwan didn't create? What's the only part of creation that Bhagwan didn't create? The ego. I'm on point 1 right now. What do you think I'm going to say? A certain country? The ego. And since Bhagwan didn't create the ego, that means the ego is not real. Bhagwan's nature is reality. All that comes from Bhagwan is reality too. But Bhagwan didn't create the ego, so the ego is not real. For those who are going to join Meaningful Mornings tomorrow, Bhagwan Krishna tells Prince Arjuna about how the one who's gunatita It doesn't matter if there's mana or apamana. Not relevant. And my mind keeps going to Shri Kabir. Once someone had come to Shri Kabir and said, I want to debate with you. And Shri Kabir said, why? And that person said, because I want to defeat you. So Shri Kabir said, I'm defeated. Why even go through the debate? You see how he was so unconcerned about winning or losing? I'm defeated, done. That's really cool about athletics during the day. Nobody really keeps track of score, correct? We don't really know who wins or loses, and nobody cares, or most of you don't care. Right? But every other sport you engage in, it's always about the score and not about the sport. Sincerely. And now we complete our workshop. We're really close to home now. We've taken 3 rites. Now we have to take our final rite. We're trying to find ourselves, correct? And we're being taken to verse 31. Chapter 3, verse 31. I'm rereading 21 because I didn't, and I should have. Yadyadacharati sheshtaha tattadevetaro janaha sayat pramanam kurute lokastad anuvartate. Ye me matam midam nityam anutishtanti manavaha shraddhavanto na suyantaha muccante pi karma bihi. Bhagavan Krishna shares, ye means you. Me matam, in my opinion, idam nityam, those who practice what I've taught so far, anutishtanti manavaha, this practice is comprehensive. What I have shared thus far, those who practice this comprehensively. That's the first line. The second line, with what? Shraddhavantaha. What does that mean in English? Filled with faith. I have to briefly digress here. Some months ago, Shankarji and I facilitated a workshop in Pittsburgh on finding your faith. Those who are coming to our Devi retreat this year, we're going to take up the same subject. It's called Sri Rama Gita. Sri Lakshmana sees that Bhagavan Rama is just chilling. At no point in the Ramayana is Bhagavan Rama just chilling, but in this part he is. And Sri Lakshmana goes to him, and they start to engage in satsang. He asks him 5 questions. And Pujya Swami Tejomayananda shared so beautifully, what one can learn from Bhagavan Rama and Sri Lakshmana is they never wasted time. Bhagavan Rama was not doing anything. What did Sri Lakshmana do? Immediately started asking him questions. And before Bhagavan Rama answers, he kind of looks around, and so Sri Lakshmana looks around too. And the implication of this, where is this dialogue happening? Panchavati. In an area where there's 5 strong trees, and Bhagavan's point to this is, you have to have 5 firm faiths to understand the answers I'm going to teach you. You have to have the faith to be able to understand. Here's what those 5 faiths are. See, you're getting so many free retreats in one workshop right now. Faith number 1, faith in samhara. In English, that means divinity. Number 2, faith in shastra. That means map. Number 3, faith in Sadguru, meaning your guide. Number 4, take a guess in this sequence. What's number 4? I'm going with this S, okay? Alliteration. So what do you think number 4 is? Starts with an S in Sanskrit. Number 4 is faith in Shishya. Faith in yourself. Faith in yourself. And number 5 is faith in sadhana. Faith in discipline. If you have faith in discipline, you'll become a disciple. A disciple of who? Your guide. What is your guide going to guide you in? The map. Where is the map taking you? To divinity. Where is divinity? 4 right turns, correct? Divinity is the disciple. Shraddhavantaha. And asuyantaha, correct. Asuyantaha means one who finds weaknesses in strengths. Anasuyantaha, like the word anasuya means, the one who finds strengths in weaknesses. In other words, the one who's only tuned into strengths. What happens to the person who is filled with faith, the person who loves these teachings? Muchante. Muchante means they become free. Free from what? Karmabihi. What's the first right that we studied? Right action. One becomes free of all actions. Okay. I'm going to pause. Day 1 we focused on what to do. Right actions. Clear? What is the rightest action? Regular responsibilities. Going deeper. Day 2 is why do. What to do? Why to do. That's the right attitudes. What is the best attitude? Surrender. Day 3, not what or why, but who. Who's the one that's doing the right actions with the right attitude? The deepest part of who you are, obviously not the spirit, the deepest part of you is the ego. How to let go of this ego? Sink early. Understand that this ego is not real. Be defeated. Now we're tuned into, if you follow all of this, how will you feel? And Bhagavan is sharing, muchante, one will feel free. This is why we're designing the 4th day as the right ananda. Right ananda. Let me give you a little bit more context, then we'll go through our framework. What is the difference between being happy and being happiness? What's the difference between being happy and being happiness?
It's dependent on.
Okay. Okay. Being happy is conditional. Being happiness is natural. When Bhagavan Krishna shares that one will be free, he's not sharing you'll be happy, he's sharing you will be happiness. In Sanskrit, this term is kritakritya. All that you're supposed to do, you have done. Kritakritya, that's a really lovely term in Sanskrit, in Vedanta. It means you've come home. You've taken your 4th right. Kritakritya. And so summarizing this into 3 English words. Looking at me, verse 8, what were the 3 English words? Action facilitates function. I love when I say look at me and you still look down and then look at me like I can't see you. Continuing to look at me, verse 9, dedication facilitates evolution, upward movement. Number 3, vision facilitates inclusion. You're not just living for this body or this mind, but you're living keeping in mind that all deserve to be happy. Number 4, immersion facilitates emancipation. Immersion facilitates emancipation. Here the immersion means Shraddha, Anasuya. You're immersed in this. Emancipation is that freedom. Okay? This is the Pancha Kaushala. Now I've given you 4 PKs, correct? PK is a movie, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. What was the first PK? Panchakarma. Well, that's how we started. Number 2? Panchakirti. 3? And now 4? Pancha Kaushala. Kaushala here means like insight. Someone who's insightful. This, when I speak on this matter in public, I call this the proofs you are happiness. The proofs you are happiness. Here's number 5. Quality of objects. Quality of objects. Keyword is quality. If happiness were the quality of an object, let's say this water bottle, anyone who has that object would feel happy. Do you want this water bottle? It's old, it's got water in it, your water bottle is newer. We can trade. You probably have Gatorade in it or watermelon juice. But if this was of the nature of happiness, then anyone who has it should be happy. Is there any object that's the nature of happiness? Be factual about it. You're saying Thailand or cotton candy. There's no object that is of the nature of ananda. Number 4, quantity of objects. Quantity of objects. The home I'm staying in, they have, I think it's called banana nut monkey chocolate, something like that, whatever that flavor, funky monkey, sure. My flavor sounds better, doesn't it? Who eats chocolate, ice cream with a monkey in it, but banana, nut, chocolate, that sounds good. And it's good ice cream. On day 1 I had butter pecan and it was okay, but then I switched over to banana, nut, chocolate, and it was better. So I had one bowl of ice cream, but I'm a very logical person. So if I eat 3 bowls, then I should have 3 units of happiness, correct? And if I eat 30 bowls, I should have 30 units of happiness. If Vivek ate 30 bowls, if I ate 30 bowls of ice cream, I wouldn't be here right now. They'd be pumping out my stomach in the hospital. So there's no quantity of objects where there's ananda. It's not in the quality of objects. It's not in the quantity of objects. And people who think so logically without faith, they pick on the strengths. These 2 don't resonate with them so much, but number 3 does. Absence of objects. Absence of objects. What time did you sleep last night? 11. What time did you sleep last night? 1. What time did you sleep last night? 1. What's my follow-up statement? You should have slept at 9, yes, but also that you're lying. See, the defense is coming. I'm not. But if you know it's 11 o'clock, how can you be sleeping? So you are a liar. As long as you know what time it is, you're not sleeping, correct? You never know what time you sleep. When you are asleep, you don't know about time. You don't know about space, correct? You don't know what mattress you're on, what thread count there is. When you're asleep, you don't know how much your body weighs, if you have a body. If you're dreaming, there's another body there. But everyone likes to sleep. I can tell. Nobody likes to wake up, hence the snooze button, correct? But do you see, logically, in sleep there's nothing but you. You can't say you're not there. There is no space, no time, no matter. There is you, though. And if you're experiencing that happiness, where could it be coming from? The right Ananda, correct? It's not in the quantity of objects. I think I started with quality of objects, nor quantity, nor absence. Here's number 2. Escaping the unnatural. That's your second sutra if we're going 5 to 2. Escaping the unnatural. Our older son, Vyasa, he shouldn't be living in a city. He should be living in the vana. He loves nature. He loves climbing trees and digging dirt and following insects. And so there's always nature on his body and in his body too. We have taken so much wood out of his feet and his knees and his hands, so much. Now, if we don't do that, and he's healthy, suppose we don't take those pieces of wood out of his feet or his hands, what will his feet or hands do to that wood? They'll naturally push that out because he's healthy. Yes, the body will just push it out anyways. But he's 6 years old. He's had his bones in his hands for 6 years now. How come his body's not pushing out those bones? The wood is not natural. The bones are. That wood is an alien in his ecosystem. Now applying it to you, when you feel stress, what do you do? Tell me, the last time you felt stress, what did you do? You ate ice cream, I think I heard. Me too. You ate ice cream, or you engaged in retail therapy, or you went to sleep, or you shouted at someone, or binged on Netflix. But my point is you did something not to feel that stress. If you react towards someone, you can't get them out of your head, right? Why did I do this? I shouldn't have done this. And you keep trying to get it out of your head, but it keeps staying there. This shows that vices are not natural to you. Sadness is not your nature, because if it is, why would you try to change it? Right, Ananda, you are not dukkha. That's not your nature. You look like it now, but it's not. And number 1, this is the final point out of the 20 points that have been shared over the past 4 evenings. Embracing the natural. Embracing the natural. Tomorrow I have to write to City Hall in Niagara Falls and the Niagara Parks Commission, etc., encouraging them to celebrate Independence Day. Last year we raised the flag at City Hall and we had the Niagara Falls illuminated in Bharat's colors. So this year we will also do it, and it's cool, you get to flip the switch. Now, how many of you have been to Niagara Falls before? Let me change. How many of you have not been to Niagara Falls before? People exist that have not been to Niagara Falls? You're an American and you haven't been? I had heard that Niagara Falls is the Tirupati of North America. Correct? Everybody comes to Niagara Falls. So anyways, when you are seeing the Niagara Falls and it's so big and so beautiful and so lovely to your ears, even though you're using your senses, what do you do eventually? Close your eyes. You buy a mug and yes, you close your eyes because you feel that as yourself. When you're feeling joy and cheer and patience and discipline, you don't want that to change. When you're feeling happy, the only thought that comes is, I don't want this to change. I'm afraid this experience will go away. Which proves that your nature is ananda, or joy. In the movie Oppenheimer, he shares everything is trying to go back to its natural state, correct? giving off electrons, taking on something else that I don't know about. We're all trying to go back to our natural state. In this verse, Sri Krishna is sharing, for the one who engages in the right actions, with the right attitudes, with the right Atma, everything is being done to feel you're not the ego. You will be free by knowing that you are Ananda. When Narendranath Datta, who later became Puja Swami Vivekananda, heard about this strange man called Sri Ramakrishna, and he went to him with such skepticism and said, I heard that you can see God. And he said, do you see God? And Sri Ramakrishna's answer was, I see God more clearly than I see you. And he's not saying it sarcastically, ha ha. He was an unpar. What does unpar mean in English? Illiterate. He could barely write his own name. But when he would offer arti to Mahakali, occasionally his hand would turn around. And arti would be offered to himself by himself. I know the people who were coming to the mandirs, they started questioning this, asking the administrators, what is this mad person doing? And so they asked him, are you confused? And he said, I'm only offering the light where I see the light. Where does Mahakali live? There's no Sri Ramakrishna, there's only Mahakali. This is in our own lifetime, meaning it's documented. He came home. His nature is not of the body, it's of Ananda. When they operated on his cancer, there was no anesthesia. One of you said anesthesia is awesome. One of you had said anesthesiologists are the happiest. No, Sri Ramakrishna is. He didn't need that anesthesiologist. The same goes with Sri Ramana. They found him in the corner of a mandir where they used to throw old coconuts and garlands, and these insects were eating at him. But he didn't feel it because he's Ananda, not Ananda Maya. He's not filled with joy. He is joy. Logically, the word infinity implies you. What is exclusive of infinity? You can't say anything. So who are you? You are infinity, you are Ananda. But you already knew that. Are you going to follow this now? I had begun our workshop sharing a dangerous way to live is to be so busy that you don't realize you are so busy. And so, in our workshop, we slowed down. You've gone through chapter 3 many times, but over 6 hours, we only took up 4 verses. And many times, 6 hours, you'd cover all of chapter 3. We only took up 4 verses. If you slow down, what happens? You step back. Many people have been discussing about this notion of, if you die, what do you want to be remembered for? What will you be remembered for? Did you think about that when you were at work today? You may have. Do you think the other people were thinking about that? No, we don't step back. Slow down, step back, then what happens? You see more. That no object is going to bring me Ananda. Impossible. At most, go to sleep more. At most. Now, the 4th part to this sequence is slow down, step back, see more. The 4th part is smile on. Go, but go with the smile, knowing all of these truths. Narayana.